Hello, everybody. Is this on? Okay. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Reverend Linda Leland from the teachersofgod.org. This is our Course in Miracles every Friday morning live stream plus in-person gathering. So I just want to welcome everybody here and welcome all the live streamers. And shout out to Bill and Lisa, our co-founders and leaders who are in California, getting some things done, but primarily they're spending 5 days, I think, at least, at the Yogananda Center, staying in quiet for Christmas and resting in Christ consciousness. And I love that our founders are doing that because that's what this season's all about. This is not just about the birth of baby Jesus. Jesus was really showing us all of our potential to birth the light and the love that we are, and that's what we're here, and that's what this season is about. You know, God is in everything. Everything we see, God is in everyone. God was no more in Jesus than in us. So there's no more potential for Jesus to embody Christ consciousness than there is for us, and I love knowing that. And speaking of that, just a couple of announcements I want to make. Anybody who's in our Living in Purpose Mastery program or who is considering joining our Living in Purpose Mastery program, the theme for 2019 is embodying Christ consciousness. So for the entire year, this will be the main focus. We do 2 conference calls every month. Those will all be based on that one theme. So for the entire year, if anybody is really all in, because that's what this program, it's not for everybody. It's for those who make the truth their number one priority. After I finished the 40-day, way long before I worked here, I heard about Living in Purpose, and I knew it was for me. I knew there was nothing that could keep me from that. I sort of tasted my own beingness without fear a little bit through the 40-day program. And I saw the power, I saw the potential for my life, and I wanted that more than anything. So I would have run people down to get into the Living in Purpose Mastery program. And that's pretty much why I work for them too. It was a point in my life, not that anyone cares, but when I was on the phone with my prayer partner, Al Austin, and I said, all I want to do is work for the Teachers of God Foundation. After doing Living in Purpose, I just want to support and inspire people, and I knew the potential that was there for all of us. I said, that's all I want to do. And Al said, hang up the phone and go call them right now. I was like, that will never work. Yeah, like 3 or 4 years later, here I am. So, but the Living in Purpose program is amazing, and the fact that that theme is going to be embodying Christ consciousness in 2019 is super, super amazingly exciting to me. So, if anyone's interested, you can learn about it at theteachersofgod.org. What else did I want to mention? Lisa has offered a discount. Recently, she did a live webinar called Change Your Mind, Change Your World. If anybody registered, there's a really great discount in there for the ACIM 365 program, doing the workbook lessons of A Course in Miracles. There's a whole bunch of people doing them starting January 1st. And if you register for this program, you get a commentary every morning from Lisa. Just some inspiration, some clarity, some motivation to get you to complete all the workbook lessons, all 365 of them in 1 year. So every day you get an audio recording from Lisa. If you did not register for the webinar and you still want to get the discount runs out on Christmas. Please just email me at Linda@teachersofgod.org, and I'll make sure you get that link. I think that's it. Vicki Thomas's party already happened, right? Okay. So without further ado, we're going to read from Cafe Gratitude. James Pugh is going to, what? James Clayton.
That's my name.
James Clayton. Did I say it wrong? Sorry.
That's right.
You changed it.
I changed it.
No. I like it.
Morning, everybody. Morning, live streamers. So this morning's word or statement is "What grows never grows old," and that's by Noah Ben Shea. And for me, a lot of things have been happening, mostly with acceptance, accepting of the situation as it is, and continuing to grow and continue to gain understanding and a lot of appreciation, especially around this time of year. Got to spend some quality time with family last weekend and looking forward to it again this week. And then the thought for the day is, where are you comparing yourself to others? So that's always one to keep in mind. So with that, I'll turn it back to Linda.
Awesome. Thank you. I was just watching some Marianne Williamson video, and she said, she was talking about just how we are all expressions of consciousness, of God, and that stepping into that is actually maturity. And she said, you know what comparing yourself to others is? High school. She said, that's high school. And I loved it. I was like, really is. When we're doing that, it's just to come into our own spiritual maturity. You notice you're doing that less and less all the time. So this is when we greet each other in love. We're with this time of the year, this light in us, this consciousness that is us, this love that is the real truth of who we are, to just pause for a minute and try to center yourself in that place and just look for that in another person and greet them. And we use the word namaste or I love you like crazy. I did.
I love you like crazy. Love you like crazy.
Good. Hi.
Love you like crazy.
And then they put her in a warning system. On today. Yep, that's right. Survive and become why not? I that's all right. I just changed it. I'm sure. Named Gabrielle. Oh, named after an angel. Isn't that a messenger of love? I've been watching you. I'm a transformation now, and absolutely.
Cheryl?
Yes, this week of the last.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Namaste. Love you like crazy. There you go.
I love you like crazy.
That's right.
Good morning. Cheryl, nice to meet you. Hey, David.
No, you're right, you're right. Oh, namaste. Yeah, oh, you do. Yeah, namaste. Hi, Nancy. I'm Gail. But you know, you start.
Okay. Are we back? We're back. All this love, it doesn't want to sit down. Somebody just asked me a really good question. They said, which one should I do? Should I do the ACIM 365 or the Living in Purpose Mastery program? And it brought me to a really good point that I forgot to mention, is that ACIM 365 is included with the Living in Purpose Mastery program. The program that I told you that we're embodying the Christ for 2019. ACIM 365 is included. So is a 6-month spiritual program on prosperity. Like the mastery program has everything in it. And that's sort of a place where you get to hang out with Bill and Lisa every month. And you get to be a part of a private Facebook group where they are. And this hugely, wildly awake, incredible community on the private Facebook group. But you don't need to be on Facebook to get everything from Living in Purpose. Also, once you enroll for Living in Purpose, you are a lifetime member. It's a lifetime program. You have access to it anytime you want. And you meet so many new friends. And then week 8 of Living in Purpose, you get a prayer partner. This is optional, but you are matched up by spirit that moves through Bonnie Kimball and just will always match you up with the perfect prayer partner for you. She just finds the only requirement is that it's somebody in your time zone so that you can communicate in a timely fashion. But everybody is matched up with their perfect person, and they're just best friends that meet and just really somebody that always see the highest in you, somebody to chat with in the morning. My prayer partner has been Al, who's late. But it's just a great thing to have. So thank you for asking that question. So, Jen, you have a question?
No, I love my prayer partner.
Oh, you have a prayer partner. Do you want to?
Is she there? Yeah. Are you watching? Hi, Erica. I love you. I get to meet her at the conference this summer.
Awesome. See what prayer partner? What happens? Yeah. Yeah. Of course you have. Excuse me. Okay. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our gorgeous, brilliant speaker, my dear friend, all of our dear friend. She really is. I mean, the way that God expresses through you is so, I just feel like it's this huge gift that's been put into my life and into our lives, really. And your topic, thanks. In case you missed that, she feels the same way. Just kidding. So your topic is Merry Solstice. I cannot wait to hear. I love when you teach during the holidays, every holiday. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Reverend Kelly Russell.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm going to say hi to J-Bro. Hi, everybody. I wanted him to wear a sign that said, "Happy birthday to me," but he was like, no. We're talking about the birth of the Christ light and the return of the light and all that, and that's really about all of you, not about just me. So I said, okay. Okay, so I have a few things that I'm going to do. I want to talk to you about the winter solstice. So for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, Merry Solstice.
Merry Solstice, Cal.
Thank you. And for those of you who are live streaming who might be in the Southern Hemisphere, it's just a metaphor. The world isn't real anyway. And so, and you can bust this teaching out like June 21st and watch it over again, because that'll be your winter solstice. So but the idea of the winter solstice, I was thinking about this as a metaphor. And so in, times before the birth of Christ consciousness into the world, before what we know as the birth of Jesus, and people who are in the Christian tradition think of as the birth of Jesus. And way back beyond that, for thousands of years, there have been the pagan traditions really celebrating what's happening with the earth and pretty much what's happening with the sun. It's all about the light. And that was because we were so dependent on it. And this, as humans, in this this world that we're in, where we are small and we are separated and we feel like we're bodies and we're dependent on outside factors, right? So we're dependent on the sun for everything, for warmth, for being able to grow crops, be able to feed ourselves, being able to warm the water so it's not frozen, so we can drink it, being able to just even whatever the vitamins are that we get from the sun. It was just all about the sun and all about the light. And also when fire was discovered, and then it was protected. People had to like carry their fire around like in a skull or something and protect it, because they didn't really know how to create it. So they would just find it somewhere and then like have to like be scared that like it was going to go out and that somebody was going to take their fire or extinguish it or something. So all of these great metaphors about the light and about, in this world, a world of illusion that we've created in our minds, how we are still, we've created this metaphor about being called toward the light. So we're always attracted to light. So I was thinking about what winter is like, and why, I hear from a lot of people when they come into my office, as soon as the days start getting shorter, people start feeling more depressed. They start feeling, bummed out that summer's almost over. It starts in like August, which happens to be my favorite month of summer. I love summer. I love all of it. I love all the seasons. I love August because it is cooler and it's the part of summer that's actually leading into fall. And I love that too. But a lot of people get really, really bummed out. There's even a mental health diagnosis that is associated with winter. And it's called, of course, SAD, right? Seasonal affective disorder. And it is about what happens when there's a lack of light. Like what happens to people when there's a lack of light. So we have all this connection to darkness and light. And so in the pagan traditions, they would have this big celebration around the winter solstice. They had all these traditions and they all had to do with light. So they would light a Yule log, and the Yule log would be inside the house, because the idea was that it was not only the light and celebrating the light and keeping the idea of the light alive. And so the Yule log had to be kept burning, but it had to be brought inside the house so that it was a symbolic of being able to bring the light inside. And I just love that. I was reading one thing, I don't even really know if this is true, and I can't imagine how it could be, but there was some talk about how they would go and chop down like an entire tree, bless you, and then bring it in and like stick one end of it into the fireplace and start burning it. And it would just keep burning. I don't know how that didn't really burn the house down, but whatever. The whole idea was they just didn't want the light to be extinguished, right? And then they would have fires that they would dance around and have these big feasts. And the idea was, even though food was getting scarce and there was a lot of scarcity, a lot of fear that there was going to be starvation, that there wasn't going to be enough through the winter, they would still have a feast. And the feast was a celebration of abundance in the faith that the light was going to return, which I love that too. And when they started to decorate trees, they would decorate the tree while it was still planted in the ground. And they would just, put flowers on it and and sweets on it, pine cones and whatever else, and decorate it. But it was a symbol. The evergreen is a symbol of eternal life. It's a symbol of the return of it, because it stays green all year. It represented hope that the green would come back and that the growth would come back, and that all the other trees that they're looking at are all dead and brown, and the evergreen tree just stays alive. And so then when they started to decorate it eventually, and of course this was a gigantic, I don't even know how people did this, but they put candles on it. And then when they brought the trees inside and would put candles on it, I'm not sure how, I don't know what happened with that. I'm glad that we actually have lights now. But again, that was symbolic of bringing the light inside and keeping the light going in the faith and in the hope and in the trust that the light and the warmth would return. So I just love all of that. I love all the symbolism. And I've talked before about how much I love the Christmas season, but I love the whole season because it is representative of the return of the light. And the light never left, right? I mean, we look up in the sky and it's like, it gets dark at, 4:30 or something right now. And it seems like there's no light, right? It seems like, well, it's dark. So the light went away and it somehow like it just disappeared, and like it's not, we don't have it anymore. And yet some of you watching, or maybe watching this later, it actually is light, and it's your longest day of the year. And so the light didn't really go away. The sun didn't really go away. It's just not available to us right now, or not in the quantity that we want it to be. And so what happens when it's not as available to us is we have to trust. We have to just stay in that place of trust that the sun is still shining. The sun hasn't gotten smaller. The sun hasn't decided to like go to sleep for a while and then wake back up and just only shine for a little amount of time, or not want to work as hard or whatever. It's shining just as brightly as it ever was. We just aren't able, we're not able to see it right now, right? And so we have to stay in that place of just knowing, rather than being able to see what the world is reflecting to us as evidence of the truth. So I was thinking about winter. And I was thinking about, I wrote something about it actually that I think I'll just read to you. So we are light. We are pure light, and that is all we are. And it's all we ever have been. And we knew that at one point. And there's a remembrance of that buried deep in our minds. But we forgot it. And we came to believe that we were separate and alone, and that we walked the world in darkness. And winter can symbolize this. It's cold, it's dark, it can feel isolating. It can feel like it's hard, like there's a lack of abundance. And so it can be associated with all of the same things that separation from God can be associated with. So being with God in oneness and with all of our bros, for me, I see it like an eternal day at the beach. Every day is beautiful. It's warm, the sun's out, the sky is blue, the water's warm, we're swimming, we're body surfing. The only difference is instead of swimming and body surfing in the ocean, we're swimming and body surfing in the love of God and in the oneness with our brothers. We're building sandcastles, and we're on perpetual vacation. And when we're on perpetual vacation, there's nothing to worry about. There's no cares. You're free. There's no school. There's no work. All we do all day long is play. It's just pure fun. And we're just with our playmates. And the world is just filled with light. And we just love it. We're just in love with life when we feel like that. And then And all we feel around us is love. But then something happened. When we were in that state, something happened. And we seem to fall asleep. And we wake up in this cold, dark place. And it feels isolated, and we feel afraid. Hiya. And now the water's cold. It's frozen in places. Warmth is scarce, and so is light. And we wander, we feel lost, we're afraid we're going to die from exposure or starvation. We feel unprotected, we feel vulnerable. And we remember the light. And we long for its warmth, and we long for its comfort, and its safety, and its peace. We long to experience the joy again and to revel in the freedom of the complete lack of care or worry. So in the world, we think of this light as the sun, but the sun is only a representation of the light. It's the light that we long for, but it isn't the light of the sun, or rather, it is the light of the sun, S-O-N. Nice. So I want to read you a couple of excerpts from A Course in Miracles that have to do with light. There is a light that this world cannot give, yet you can give it as it was given you. And as you give it, it shines forth to call you from the world and follow it. For this light will attract you as nothing in this world can do. This other world is bright with love. And here will everything remind you of your Father and his Holy Son. Light is unlimited and spreads across this world in quiet joy. All those you brought with you will shine on you, and you will shine on them in gratitude because they brought you here. Your light will join with theirs in power so compelling that it will draw the others out of darkness as you look on them. Not one light in heaven, but goes with you. Not one ray that shines forever in the mind of God, but shines on you. Heaven is joined with you in your advance. When such great lights have joined with you to give the little spark of your desire the power of God himself, how can you remain in darkness? You and your brother are coming home together after a long and meaningless journey that you undertook apart and that led nowhere. You have found your brother, and you will light each other's way. And from this light will the great rays extend back into darkness and forward unto God, to shine away the past, and so make room for his eternal presence, in which everything is radiant in the light. God, how do you follow that?
Do you know where that was out of?
It's in the Course in Miracles somewhere.
Somewhere in the 1,200 pages.
I'm sorry. I always mean to make references, and I don't know where it is. Yeah, somewhere in the, read the book, and you'll find it. So I love the idea of the solstice because I love the idea of the focus on the return of the light, and that's what it's all about for me. But it's the return of the light that never left. So, as A Course in Miracles says, you know, into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God forgot to laugh. So, and the next sentence goes on about how we took it seriously. We took this idea seriously that we could ever be separate from God. And because we are such powerful creators, we created not a real world, but we created a powerful dream that began with the Big Bang and appeared to create a world that seems real to us, but it's not. But yet this is the dream that we're having. And so in this world, we experience winter, we experience cold, we experience darkness, lack, limitation, scarcity, fear. It's all forms of fear. We experience fear in all its different manifestations. And yet the truth of us is only love. As the Course says, only love is real. So there is really no fear. It's only love is real, and we are pure light. The Course says we are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. And so how do we remember that? How do we, in the times when it seems to be winter, the times in our consciousness when we forget the light, when we can't see the light, you know, and that doesn't just happen in November, December, January, February. That happens at various times in all of our lives, right? It happens when we're going through shit. It happens when we are having problems in relationships, or when we lose our jobs, or when we're in conflict, or, you know, those are the times when we're in the dark and we can't see the light. And so how do we remember what the light is? So in my wanting to talk about the return of the light and talking about the solstice, because that's what today is, I want to switch it over to the birth of the Christ light, or the birth of the Christ consciousness into the world. So we've all been Mary. We have all been Mary, where we have had something big happen to us, and we're not really sure how it's all going to go. Sometimes it's been something where we've had a message that has come to us. Sometimes the message, like Mary had an angel come and appear to her and whisper to her and let her know what was going to happen, which must have seemed really huge at age 14. And some of us, it hasn't been an angel whispering so much as it's been like a freaking cosmic 2x4 across the side of the head, right? Some big giant thing that's happened, and we can't even see in the beginning of it that it's a message. And we don't know that. And so maybe it starts to reveal itself, you know, as things transpire, but at some point we realize, I am pregnant. I got something going on in here. There is something growing. There's something gestating. There's something that has taken root in me. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm scared of it. And I kind of want to not do it. But it's kind of sort of too late. And I just got to like see this thing through. And so I want us all to be thinking about, like, what's your Mary journey? My Mary journey, and some of you may have heard this story before, but, you know, I teach through story a lot, and it's because I'm not teaching anybody but myself here. So my Mary journey was that, I probably had a few Mary journeys, so I'm just going to tell you kind of part of it. But I used to be in corporate sales. So for, I think, pretty much everybody who knows me here, you have met me post all of that, post 9/11, really. So prior to 9/11, I was in corporate sales. I wore suits all the time. I traveled all the time. I had a company car. I took people out to lunch and out to dinner, and that was my life. And it's fine for some people that have that life, but I was developing an unconscious realization, if that's not too much of an oxymoron, an unconscious realization that I didn't want to be doing that anymore. But it was too scary to just say that and just leave it. Leave the money, leave the car, leave the security, leave the only field I had ever really known. It was too scary. So I wasn't looking at it. So the light is over calling me over here and trying to dawn, trying to burst through the darkness of me saying, I don't want to be doing this. Because on some level in my consciousness, there was some kind of a seed in me that knew that I was supposed to be doing this. And I wasn't listening to that. And I wasn't a Course in Miracles student. I was spiritual, but I wasn't any of this. I wasn't doing any of what I'm doing now. And hadn't gone back to college, hadn't gotten a degree. And that was part of why I was doing what I was doing, is because sales was the only field that I had been able to find where I could work and make the kind of living that I felt like I needed to make without a college education. And so in some sense, very real sense actually, I felt trapped. I felt trapped in my life. Like I can't do anything else because I don't have a college degree, I don't have a 4-year degree. So even if I wanted to do something else, I wouldn't be able to. And so I was being held in my own darkness by my own belief. And the Course in Miracles would tell us that our thoughts are the only thing that are holding us back. Our thoughts are the only thing that are holding us in darkness, that we're literally keeping ourselves there. And I forgot that I didn't have to figure it all out, that I didn't have to be the one to find my way out of this feeling trapped. I just felt like it was all up to me, and I was just going to have to stick it out and just do this forever, I guess. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'd get married to somebody rich or something like that. I mean, that kind of seemed like, those kind of seemed like my options. And meanwhile, I had been divorced twice, so that wasn't looking good either. And so what happens when the darkness is all around you, and that's what you're looking at, and that's what you're sort of looking for, because that's what you're believing. Because I had this unconscious desire not to be doing what I'm doing, can't admit it, so can't actually make the decision or take the risk, have the faith, and just step out and take the leap and be like, I know there's going to be something better out there for me. I know you've got my back, Spirit. I know it's going to be good, so I'm just putting this down because I know I don't like it anymore. Instead of that, I got into trouble. I started having an extramarital affair with a married man. I started living a life that I would have never said that I would have ever lived. I started living against my own integrity and was living with lies in my life and deceit, and it was awful. But I was just walling it off in denial. Like what we do, right? When we're in this place of darkness, that's what we do, is we pretend like it's not happening. And that's what basically is happened. This is how we got here in this world where we're creating all of this, is by not wanting to see the truth and wanting to just continue to see the darkness, right? Because the darkness reinforces our own sense of guilt. Our own sense of guilt, because we believe that we separated from God, and we feel incredibly guilty about that, to the point where we feel like we have to punish ourselves in various ways. And so this was just another one of the ways that I was punishing myself. But it's interesting that the light is still always there, and the light is still always calling to us. And so sometimes it happens as a manifestation in the world. The light is calling to you. And so my Mary journey was that I lost the job, the boyfriend, and the car all in the same day. So it was big, big sort of angel that came to me and said, there's going to be something happening here. And get ready. Exactly. you know. It didn't say you got 9 months. It probably took a little more, like, let's see, from 1998 to 9/11. So a few years. It was a longer gestation period. And during that time, because I wasn't listening, maybe if I would have just listened to that first cosmic 2x4 and said, okay, what's your plan for me? I get it. There's something big going on. I've got some kind of a seed growing, and, like, you know, just give me guidance. I was like, nope, I just got to get another job. I just got to get another job that's exactly like the one that I had before. Just keep going. And so between 1998 and 9/11, I did that a couple more times. So I had, and it wasn't that I was a shitty salesperson. So it wasn't like, God, can't she hold on to a job? It wasn't like that. I was actually the kind of salesperson that won awards and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that it's how I finally knew that there was something else going on, because this is out of character for what this journey has been so far. And so I got laid off a couple more times. And finally, it was like the universe was going, okay, you're not getting it. You're pregnant, but you're not acting like it. Like you're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking your vitamins. You're not getting your rest. You're not going to the doctor. You're not doing what you're saying. You're not preparing a place for me. So finally, when 9/11 happened, and for so many people, I mean, obviously it turned many people's lives completely upside down and in far more tragic ways. My way was not tragic. But what it did do is it created an environment in the world where I couldn't get a job. It affected the economy in such a way so that having a 4-year degree as a salesperson became a screening tool. We're just going to weed out the people that don't have a 4-year degree. Nope, we're not even going to talk to you. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, like I'm not even going to be able to work. So I was really boo-boo kitty about it for a while. You know, poor me, and like, what am I going to do? And how come this had to happen to me? And all about me, and rah, 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 rah. And then I had a great therapist, and she's talking to me after listening to me whine my ass off for a while. She finally was like, so what are you going to do? It's been a few months, you know, your severance is going to run out pretty soon. And I said, well, I'm going to have to go back to school. I'm going to have to go back to school to get a 4-year degree so that I can get back into sales. And yeah, that's how I was still thinking. And she said, oh, well, what would you study? And I said, well, I'm like halfway through a psychology degree because, you know, when I first went to college, when I was, 20 years ago, I wanted to be a therapist, whatever. You know, I never finished it. I got married, blah, 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 fell into sales. And she was like, well, I think you'd make a good therapist. Have you ever thought about doing that? And I was like, nope, I just want to get the two more years, get the degree and go back into sales, resume my life and be happy again. And I just was in like really heavy denial. And meanwhile, the bump is showing, right? And I don't see it. I mean, I'm just like, whatever. It's, it's too much chocolate. But, and then I had all these objections, like I have to work. I'm not making any money. My unemployment's going to run out. I have financial responsibilities. I don't have time to go to school. I can't afford it anyway. Plus, I can't go sit in a classroom all day. Like I have to actually be at work. And there's just no way that this could work. And she said, well, okay. But the first thing she said was, just so you know, she said, I actually work in the psych department at Salem State University, and I know a little bit about going to school, and you can get financial aid. You can get loans. You don't have to pay them back right now. So the fact that you can't afford to get a degree isn't true. And not that I'm telling you that you should default on your student loans, but even if you did, they can't repossess your degree. So, that's that objection. So then I walked away and I still had all the other objections. And I went home and I opened, I think it was Spirit of Change magazine. I just remember it being one of those kind of like metaphysical, new agey kind of rags, you know. And I opened it up and I swear to God, there's a full page ad this big that says, do you want to return to school? Do you want to get your degree? But you can't because you have to work and you don't have time to sit in a classroom. I mean, it might as well have said, Kelly, and then said the rest of that. We have financial aid available. Please call us. And so the one remaining objection that I had was that I felt like I have test anxiety. I didn't really know what to call it in school. And I mean, I took tests and I graduated and all that, but I just didn't want to be having to study for tests and take tests. And even the idea of that just gave me so much test anxiety. I mean, so much anxiety. And when I called and talked to the people at the program, one of the things that they said was that all of the products that you produce in our program are creative products. So you're writing papers, you're reading books, you're writing papers, you're creating projects with them, but we don't have written tests because we don't believe that that is the best way to ascertain your knowledge. So basically every objection that I had about going back to school had been kind of canned. And so then my therapist is still talking to me and saying, well, those were all your objections for going back to school. So now I just have to ask, like, if you're going to go back to school, because at this point I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go finish my degree. And she says, is that what you want to do with your life? Do you want to be in sales? And I really started thinking about what had been happening. And I really started to connect the dots, and especially because she had really helped to germinate that seed in me when she said she thought that I would be a good therapist. I couldn't unhear that. And she said, you know, it's only a couple of more years. You know, you have a partial degree to finish, and then it's a 2-year degree beyond that. And there are programs like the one that you're looking at, because this program that I was looking at Lesley University it's called the low residency model. And it was not sitting in a classroom. It was going and living at a place for a residency for a period of time. And I could take vacation time and do that. And then it was working independently for 6 months, working with a study group and my professors remotely. So there was no sitting in a classroom except during that 10-day period of time. And I ended up finding out that there was also a master's degree program that was available in the same model. And so really, I didn't have any more, there were no more excuses. And it was the smoothest 5 years I have ever gone through. It was like every door just opened. I got a job in the field at an entry level place, but I ended up getting promoted pretty quickly, and so that the financial impact wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be. And I just kept going to school. And one thing that my therapist said to me, and this was really the thing that clinched it for me, is I said, it's going to take 5 years. It's going to take forever. It's going to take 5 years. And I don't know if I can do something I don't think I've ever done anything for 5 years, or at least not knowing that it was going to be for 5 years. None of my marriages even lasted for 5 years. Most of my jobs didn't last for 5 years. And it just seemed like a giant commitment. And she said to me, 5 years are going to go by either way. And at the end of 5 years, you're either going to have a master's degree and be able to pursue your license and be a therapist, or you're going to be sitting here saying 5 years ago, if I would have gone back to school and just done it, I would be doing what I want to do now. Because I did. That was a dream of mine. And it was a dream of mine that got lost in the darkness. You know, it was a dream that I think Spirit had told me very early on, this is what you're supposed to do. And instead, I got sucked into fear. I got sucked into the ego world. I got sucked into the trappings of money and possessions and all the shiny, sparkly objects that take us off the path and that distract us, and that, oh, look over here, you can do this. Oh, look over here, you can take that trip. Oh, look over here. Because I know, and this is no disrespect to anybody who adores their sales job, as some people really do, but I didn't. And even when I was in sales, it was all about creating the relationships with the people. It wasn't about the actual selling. I hated that part of it. And so I, you know, now I'm like out to here, and and the clothes aren't fitting, and it's really obvious, and I can't keep telling myself that I'm not pregnant with something. You know, it's like you can only lie to yourself for so long about something like that before it's like right in front of you and it's getting in your way every time you try to like drive or move or whatever. And so, like I said, it was really, I mean, it was hard. It was chained to my like desk every weekend and reading books all the time and writing papers. But you know, when you're on purpose and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you've got this thing that's growing in you, and it's this light, and you've got Spirit telling you this is right, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Even if it's hard, it still feels good. I would say that sales for all those years, 20 years, was much harder for me. And part of it was because of that dissonance, doing it, and yet on some level knowing that I wasn't supposed to be doing this. I wasn't supposed to be on this path. And so I, you know, fast forward, I finished the degree in 2007, and I was working in a hospice doing grief counseling by 2006, and then as an internship, and then I got hired there in 2007. And I did that until I opened my private practice in 2012. And then I found the Course in Miracles in 2002, so right before I went to school. The Course in Miracles had knocked on my door a few years before, and as soon as I heard it was that the inner dictation was from Jesus, I was like, I'm all set. You know, you're hearing the voice of Jesus, whatever. Now look at me, I'm carrying Jesus around with me, right? Because I was able to finally let enough light in through that process of those various cosmic 2x4s that during that period when I was laid off for that third time, somebody gave me A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And I thought, well, let me just read it. Let me just see if it, you know, says anything. And it changed my life. I mean, I feel like I read that book in about a minute. And I was like, where is this Course in Miracles? I got to get a hold of this Course in Miracles. I don't know what my problem was before, but then suddenly that whole idea that the inner dictation had been the voice of Jesus just kind of evaporated. And I was like, I don't even know why that was a problem. Well, I do know why it was a problem. It's because it was my ego mind was driving the bus, and I was like mired in darkness and unable to see and following the wrong inner teacher. And so I literally went back to school and started reading the Course in Miracles, like at the same time in early 2002. And I just, you know, never stopped being a student. And then, but I also knew that I wanted to be a therapist from a spiritual perspective. I didn't want to be a therapist. A lot of the therapists I had remembered from being in therapy myself, like in the 80s and the 90s, there was kind of a resistance, there was a lot of resistance to also believing in God. You know, it was very scientifically oriented, and I could see heads nodding, especially from some people that I know are therapists. So, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to practice from a spiritual perspective. And again, this is where I was just getting more and more pregnant. you know, and I knew that it was, yes, it was therapy, but it was helping people connect. At the time, I thought about it as body, mind, and spirit. You know, now I've reoriented that a little bit because I don't believe that the body is important or what it's about, but certainly the mind and the spirit coming together. And so fast forward from 2012, when I opened my private practice, in 2014, I discovered the Teachers of God Foundation. And so in addition to being a Course in Miracles student, I had also started a course group in my home, which I still have. And I took the 40-day program, then I took the Living in Purpose program, and then I became an ordained minister of A Course in Miracles through the Teachers of God Foundation. And then I took the Guide to 365. So the programs that Linda was talking about earlier, I took, and they are all what finally got me to right here, to being a person who feel very fortunate that I get the opportunity to teach A Course in Miracles, that I have a Course in Miracles based coaching practice, and that I feel like what has been being birthed through me is myself. It is my Christ consciousness into the world. It is my feeling aligned. If you would have told me before that I was going to wake up every day and I was going to go get my coffee, get back in bed, and meditate and pray and read the Course in Miracles for like an hour every day, I would have been like, I don't have time to do that. I have to go to the gym. I got to go to this class. I got to go to that class. I got to go get, I can't do that. And now I would have a hard time if I didn't start my day like that. If there are days when I accidentally overslept and, have to run out the door and whatever, I don't feel like it's right. I don't feel like I had my day. I have to stop at some point, even if I have to like sit in my car in a parking lot and just kind of go into the silence and do my turning my day over to spirit, prayer, and meditation that I do every day. And so I don't feel like I'm wandering around in the darkness anymore. And it doesn't matter what the sun is doing. It doesn't matter what the light outside of me is doing. It doesn't matter what the circumstances of the world are. It doesn't matter what my relationships are doing or what my finances are doing, although I do believe that those are now representative of what is happening with the light that is inside me. And that the more that I'm able to see the light and the more that I'm able to let that light in and remember it and remember that light that shines within me, that is God shining in me and through me, the less I have to project those painful situations outside of me in the form of conflict in relationships or financial problems or ill health or, whatever it looks like it is. And so that's really what the solstice and the return of the light means for me. So I have a couple more things. I have something else I want to read you from the Course in Miracles that has to do about this time of year. And then I'm going to lead you in a meditation, a quick meditation. And if you want to close your eyes during this part, you can. This comes, I can't tell you the page number, but I actually can tell you where in the course, I don't know that I wrote the chapter down, but I did write the section down, and you could probably just Google it. There are excerpts from the Time of Rebirth, and the excerpts from Christmas as the End of Sacrifice. This is the season when you would celebrate my birth into the world, yet you know not how to do it. Let the Holy Spirit teach you, and let me celebrate your birth through him. The only gift I can accept of you is the gift I gave you. Release me as I choose your own release. The time of Christ we celebrate together, for it has no meaning if we are apart. The holy instant is truly the time of Christ. For in this liberating instant, no guilt is laid upon the Son of God, and his unlimited power is thus restored to him. What other gift can you offer me when only this I choose to offer you? And to see me is to see me in everyone, and offer everyone the gift you offer me. I am as incapable of receiving sacrifice as God is, and every sacrifice you ask of yourself, you ask of me. Learn now that sacrifice of any kind is nothing but a limitation imposed on giving, and by this limitation you have limited acceptance of the gift I offer you. We who are one cannot give separately. The gift of union is the only gift that I was born to give. Give it to me that you may have it. The time of Christ is the time appointed for the gift of freedom, offered to everyone, and by your acceptance of it, you offer it to everyone. It is in your power to make this season holy, for it is in your power to make the time of Christ be now. It is possible to do this all at once because there is not but one shift in perception that is necessary for you, because you made only one mistake. It seems like many, but it is all the same. For though the ego takes many forms, it is always the same idea. What is not love is always fear and nothing else. The sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness. See it not outside yourself, but shining in the heaven within, and accept it as the sign the time of Christ has come. He comes demanding nothing. No sacrifice of any kind of any one is asked by him. In his presence, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning. This Christmas, give the Holy Spirit everything that would hurt you. Let yourself be healed completely that you may join with him in healing, and let us celebrate our release together by releasing everyone with us. Leave nothing behind, for release is total, and when you have accepted it with me, you will give it with me. All pain and sacrifice and littleness will disappear in our relationship, which is as innocent as our relationship with our Father and as powerful. Pain will be brought to us and disappear in our presence, and without pain, there can be no sacrifice, and without sacrifice, their love must be. In the holy instant, the condition of love is met, for minds are joined without the body's interference. And where there is communication, there is peace. The Prince of Peace was born to establish the condition of love by teaching that communication remains unbroken even if the body is destroyed, provided that you not see the body as the necessary means of communication. The lesson I was born to teach and still would teach to all my brothers is that sacrifice is nowhere and love is everywhere. For communication embraces everything, and in the peace it reestablishes, love comes of itself. So what he's talking about there, when he talks about release, when he talks about seeing your brother as one, when he talks about release me so that I can release you, what he's talking about is forgiveness. Y'all knew I'd get there eventually, right? And it's me. So that's how we return to the light within ourselves. With regard to the Course in Miracles, that is the vehicle, because as he said in the reading I was doing, the only mistake we ever made was believing that we separated from God. And it's the only one that we need to correct. And the way that we correct it is that we see ourselves truly. We see the light within ourselves truly. We see ourselves for who we truly are. But we can't do that if we're holding even one grievance about anyone in the world. And so the forgiveness process that he gives us in A Course in Miracles is realizing that there is nothing to forgive, realizing that I am dreaming an illusion that my ego mind made up, that it's all a dream, and that I forgive myself for dreaming this illusion. I don't forgive you. There's nothing to forgive with you. I'm forgiving myself for dreaming it, myself for making it true and making it real. I ask Spirit, help me see this differently, and I release everything to Spirit. And I know that it's healed. And that is the way back to the light within ourselves, the light that never left, but that we just closed our eyes to. So I now am going to invite you to clear everything from your laps and get comfortable. And this time I will ask you to close your eyes. Take a deep centering breath. It is night. It is dark, so dark. You are cold and tired and afraid. You've been traveling for days through the desert. You're bone weary and you just want to lie down and rest. Yet you can't. The demands of the world say you have to keep going. You have to keep moving forward. You have to obey the laws. You have to be counted to pay your taxes. It feels like such a struggle. You are heavy. You are heavy with child, and it's hard. And yet, you also know. It has been whispered to you by a being unseen. You don't have any proof, no evidence, nothing to verify it. But you have been told. So you keep looking toward the horizon. Keep looking at the night sky. You doubt, but each time you return to stay in trust. You just keep going. You sense you are being pulled toward something. There is this light, this brilliant, shimmering star, brighter than anything you have ever seen. You sense that it is guiding you, that you are watched over. It is as if you are being communicated with, encouraged, reassured. Fear wells up sometimes. What if I can't make it? What if it's too much for me? What will I do? Who will help me? You feel vulnerable and alone. But there is this voice whispering, fear not, I'm with you. This gives you hope, although you wonder if you're really hearing a voice. Maybe you're crazy, but maybe it's real. So you just keep trusting. You know you are carrying something precious, something that wants to be born through you, something that is in you, yet not of you, something so powerful you can feel its warmth, its life moving within you, needing to be expressed into the world. So you stay in trust. You don't know how it's going to happen. You can't see it. So you hold on to the voice because it helps you not to be afraid. It is time. It is coming through you now. There's discomfort and pain, but it is only of the body. It's only of the world. At the same time, there's an incredible, ineffable peace, a warmth surrounding and embracing you as if you are held in the arms of angels, even as you are journeying through this experience. You know all is well. You trust that what is coming through you is for you. Finally, the moment is here. When you embrace for the first time what has been preparing to be born into the world through you, this is a holy instant. You are holding the Christ in your arms. It appears as an infant, but yet not separate from you. It is as if you are merged into one being, not apart. As you gaze down and look into the eyes of this holy child, your heart spills over with the most incredible love. You are looking into your own eyes. You smile into the face of your holy self, who smiles back at you with a love so amazing, so awesome, so intense that it is beyond description, beyond anything you've ever felt. It is your own brilliant, shimmering light that has come into the world through you and as you. As you grasp its tiny hand, you're enveloped in this holy instant. Spirit is flowing through you. You are the Christ. You are one. You are the light of the world. Amen. So I want to thank you for being with me today, for joining me in this holy solstice and welcoming of the return of the light. And I love you so much. And so can we form a circle? Do you have more you want to say, or can we pray out?
Yeah, we're going to bless the ties.
Oh, yes. Yep. We could just, hi, Andy.
You guys want to meet in the middle?
Yeah.
Make a circle? Everybody
Join.
Andy.
Got it. Everybody join Andy. Join Andy. Thank you. Love your hair.
Oh, thank you.
So first, everybody, if we could say the prayer of, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I just, it's okay.
Okay. The prayer of to bless the tithes and offerings. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
And I would just like to mention there is a donate button for live streamers and a love box there. The Teachers of God Foundation is a nonprofit organization. We have a small crew. We do everything we're called to do to bring this message out to the world with programs and free live streaming such as this, the free 40-day program. So all your donations are always used in the greatest light possible and very appreciated.
Okay, yes, I know. I'd love to pray. Thank you. So, Spirit, Father, Mother, God, as we go forth into this longest night of the year and step into what follows as the return of the light, let us remember that although we have all had our merry journey, M-A-R-Y, journey, we also remember that you have been with us every step of the way, guiding us, pulling us forward, whispering to us, being with us, and knowing for us what we couldn't know for ourselves, that we are the light, that we are you expressing into the world. And we carry this light with us as the days become longer after today, knowing that it's always within us, that we can always choose light, that darkness is only a state of mind, and fear does not exist. Only love is real. Amen. Amen. Merry solstice.
Can I just say something? I just want to say something, Kelly, because you touched on something very deep, and you were very personal.
Can we get him on the microphone?
And vulnerable.
Or we go up there closer and we can hear.
Can we get a mic? Yeah, thank you.
Go up there with her.
Sorry, Dave. Yeah, come on up.
Well, I'm just feeling moved to, I'm not trying to make a spectacle or anything.
You're not making a spectacle, my brother.
But to hear your story, I realize that it's my story because the names are different, the characters are different, the places are different, but it's a story of the process of enlightenment. Mm-hmm. That's everybody's story in this room. Mm-hmm. And, but it's the Kelly version of that. And that's what makes it so rich. Mm-hmm. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
I think it was wonderful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.